Hi everyone, welcome back in another amazing project where we're going to be creating this cryptocurrency dashboard where we're going to be showing all the most important information about cryptocurrencies live. And as you can see, so this is the application, but first I want to just talk about the technology that we're going to be using to build this application. So we're going to use TypeScript, React, Next.js, and also we're going to use for the API to extract the information. So it is a pretty popular API, which is the CoinGueko, and they are giving us a public API to use freely for developers, so we don't have to set an account or anything like this. So this is what we are going to be using to be able to pull out the information and use them and show them into this application. And we're going to be building many functionalities to enhance the user experience. Also, we're going to use stack query since we're using APIs. So the reason why I use stack query just for caching, so it handles caching along many functionalities, but that's the most important, most reason, sorry, why I use stack query. And finally, we're going to use stack table because we're going to have a table to show detailed information about cryptocurrencies. But also we're going to be using ZOD for validation, for schema validation, to be able to validate the structure that is coming from the API before we can use it safely into the application. So those are the main technology that we're going to be using. Also, we're going to be using, of course, Tailwind CSS to be able to style our project. And also, we're having the light and the dark mode, but I'm gonna explain everything, the application. So I'm gonna settle with the dark mode because I think it looks very cool. So here, as you can see, we're having the three most important cryptocurrencies here with these information, the Bitcoin, the Ethereum, and the Tether. So here we're showing the live price. So everything that we are showing right now is live at this moment. And also we're having this actual drop down to be able to select all. So we're having 100 cryptocurrencies to select from to show the prices. So for example, let's choose Tron, for example. And as you can see, the chart is going to be updated automatically after I select the coin. And also we can be able to see the previous prices within the 15 days or the 30 days. So as you can see, we're having this cool animation. And one thing that I didn't mention is we're going to use the recharts package that is used by shadcn. And also one thing that I didn't mention, we're going to use shadcn for ready to use UI component. So this is a cool stuff in here just to be able to access to the coins like this and also to access to the history of the price of each coin that we selected with its live price and the change rate. And here we're having some information about the market value. As you can see, we're having the total market cap, the 24-hour volume, the total cryptocurrencies, and the Bitcoin dominance. And at the bottom, as you can see, we're having this amazing table. So here we're going to be showing the five top most used cryptocurrencies. And here we're having some information about the market highlights. So here we are going to be using many APIs from this website. So it's going to be a little bit complex to handle all of this. So that's why I wanted to use stack query just to be able to handle the caching and don't hit or reach a rate limit or anything like this. So I want the information to be accessible to the user as much as I could. So here, if we click on the see all, as you can see, we're going to have this amazing uh, table. So that's why we are going to use stack table to be able to handle efficiently this table. So we're having the sorting, as you can see, we can be able to sort things by the column that we want. We can be able to search for the coin that we want, and also we can change the rows per page, and also we can change the pages that we want. So like handling the information, it's much easier than ever before with JStack React table. And also when I click on the download as a CSV, so here as you can see when I open the file, so we're going to have the CSV file, all the information that we are having inside the table. So also another function that I want to show you is the search. So we're going to have a live search. For example, when I type in Bitcoin, as you can see, we're going to have all the results that have the B or the key word that we're using in the search bar. So when I click, for example, on the Bitcoin, as you can see, so this search query is going to be here automatically inside this input, so you can be able to access to the elements that are related to this search query. And also, if, for example, when you click on the C mark wins, as you can see, we're gonna access to the remaining information that we are looking for. So this is the application that we are going to be creating, even though that it seems pretty simple to build, but like behind the scene, how to manage all of this, especially when working with APIs. So it's going to be pretty complex to manage this, but also it's going to help you to learn how to work with APIs much more efficiently, and also how to use TypeScript to make your application type safe and not run into bugs. So if you are very interested about this, creating this project, just stick with me till the end of this video. Hi, welcome back. So as you can see, we are in Next.js website. So, and we are in the docs section. So this is how all the steps needed to be able to install Next.js. So it's very simple. So the first thing that you should be having in your system is the Node.js, as you can see. So make sure to download the Next.js. And after installing it into your system, so we're gonna go back to our website, and here they're providing us with this terminal command. Just paste it in here and open up your terminal and just paste the this command in here. So I'm not gonna do this because as you can see, I've already created the project, and also I installed some of the things that I'm going to show you. So after hitting enter, so you will have this. So just stick with the default options. So we're going to use TypeScript, and also we're going to use the ESLint, the Tailwind CSS. So here we're not going to use the source directory. We're going to use the app router, of course. So we're not going to use the turbo pack, which is a new feature. And we're going to use the import alias. And finally, we're going to import alias. Uh, so we're going to um, not use this part. So after that, after installing all of this, so you will have the all the files installed in here. And after that, what I did, I installed shadcn. So go to the shadcn website, and in the installation section, sorry, uh, select the Next.js, and here copy this and go back to our terminal and again paste it in here. So after hitting enter, and so we will be having you will be asked these questions. As again, just stick with the default options, and you should be having this file component.js.json, and also another folder is going to be created, which is the left folder with the util.js, and also another folder is going to be created called components when we start creating and adding components as we move further into building our project. So after doing this, so after installing the actual shadcn. So the next thing that I'm going to show you how to set up the Poppins font into our website. So before I'm going to show you this in the page.jsx, so we will be having the default JSX coming out of the box when we install Next.js. So as you can see, I got rid from this. I just replaced it with the this is a home page. And so let's show you how to be able to set up the Poppins font. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to import the Poppins object from this package. And here we're going to create our Poppins variable, and we're going to call the Poppins object, and then we're going to add these properties. So after that, and into the this uh, into the body tag, sorry, we're going to add the Poppins that variable inside the curly braces. And after that, we're going to go to the global.css and make sure to add the Poppins class in here. And also another thing that I didn't mention, so when we install shadcn, this code it's going to be added just for the all the default elements that shadcn use by default. So after that, we're going to go back to the page.tsx, and then we're going to add the Poppins key in the class name just to be able to apply the font. So if we go back to the local 3000, as you can see, our font has been applied successfully. And also another library that I installed is the React icons. So if we go to the package.json, so as you can see, we're going to have the where is the React icon. So that's the version. And also we're having the React 19, which is the final version at this time. So it was the release candidate. And one of the things that I was doing, I was downgrading to the React 18. So now, because it is the final version, we're not having any issues whatsoever. So I'm going to show you very quickly how to install the React icons library. So it's very simple. So we're going to type in npm install React icons and hit enter. So because it is already installed, so that's why I went very fast. So this is the setup of our project as you can see. So the next thing that I'm going to add is the dark mode, and we're going to use the Next.js package for this. So after setting up the project, the next thing that we are going to install is the dark mode. So we're going to use the dark mode package from shadcn. And so here, when I click on light, as you can see, it's going to be handled automatically for us. So I'm just added this in here just to show you that it is working. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to go back to the shadcn website and just type in the search bar dark mode. So you will have this. Just choose the next.js. And the first thing that we should be doing, we should be installing this. So this is all the steps needed to be able to install our dark mode theme. So copy this and go back to your terminal and again paste it in your terminal. So I've already installed it, so I'm not going to do this again. So after doing this, so the next thing that we're going to be doing, we're going to be creating this theme provider.tsx and just take this code and paste it in here. So here I made a slight change because I had a problem with the typing specifically with the children because it has been set as any. So to be able to fix this problem, so I added this little code. So here, what that means is we are going to create our custom theme provider prop as an interface, and we're going to extend the all the types that are from the next theme provider package. So that's why we're using the theme or the type of and the children. So we assign the children explicitly as the React node type. So we're going to use the custom theme provider prop in here. So in this way, so we're not going to have the issue of the any type that is referred to the children. So after doing this, the next step is we need to wrap the theme provider with our application, the theme provider component. So we're going to go to the layout.tsx. So as you can see, so make sure to add the theme provider inside the body tag, and also make sure to import the theme provider from the theme provider package. And after that, we need to add the actual drop down. So here we need two components from shadcn need to be installed. So we need the button and the drop down. So as you can see, we're having a new folder called components, and as you can see, we're having two files, button and the drop down menu. So it's very simple. We're going to go back to the shadcn website, and here we're going to select the button component, and they are giving us this CLI command to be able to install the button. Just copy this and again paste it in your terminal in here, and also do the same thing for the drop down. And by the way, this is what we are going to be doing as we move further in our project to be able to install the specific components that we're going to need uh, depending on our needs. So again, here we're going to copy this and paste it in here. So you're not going to have a complaint from Typescript because we're having these packages. So here, this code is coming from, so I'm not going to do any changes for this code. So it is coming from the website. So all I had to do is just go to the code section and copy this and paste it in this, and to be able to use this component like this. So what I did just temporarily go to the page.tsx and I add the mode toggle component just to be able to render it like this. And as you can see, we're having our dark mode working correctly. And another thing that I added here, I added this class name Poppins just to be able to set the Poppins font for our dropdown in the dropdown menu content tag. So next I added this navbar, but also as if you noticed that the background, it's going to be slightly gray, and also I added the actual dark mode toggle in here just to give the nav bar a nice look. So when I click on the dark, as you can see, so we're gonna have again our dark color is set correctly. So we're gonna do some slight adjustment to be able to have that, since we change the background of the application, the background color of the application. So let's go back to the VS Code, and here I'm going to start from this part, and as you can see, I created a new folder called components, and inside of it I created this component called the header.tsx. So this is the whole JSX that is responsible for rendering this whole part. So for the icon, the name of the application, um, sorry, the search bar, and the toggle. So the first thing that I did, I created the logo and the icon um, of the application and the name of the application in a separate function. So this is the actual JSX. So we're having the header tag with all of these utility classes. Then we are going to wrap our icon or application inside this div. And finally, so we're going to use the h1 tag for the name of the application. And so these are the imports that we're going to be using. So this logo functional component, it's going to be added at the top right under the nav tag, and those are the utility classes for the nav tag. And here we are going to add this div. So this div is going to have the search icon and the input. So we basically added or wrapped these components inside one single div. And notice here we're using the relative position because this search icon it's going to have the absolute position. Just to make sure that this search icon it's going to be within this div, not outside, and doesn't go outside of this div. So that's why you use the relative position in this div. And those are the basic properties of the input. And we're adding a little bit of utility class to the class name. We are getting rid from the border and the shadow, and we are setting the width as 300 pixel fixed. And here we're going to call the mode toggle functional component that I just showed you, just to be able to place it in this position. So this is basically how we can be able to create our navbar. So this is the functional component of this whole navbar. And another thing that I mentioned before is how we can be able, if we change the background of the application, so how to make it synchronized with the dark mode package that we installed. So it's pretty simple. So we're going to go to the page.tsx. So here, what we're going to do, so we're going to use the use theme hook that is provided by this package. So we're going to use the theme. So we're going to deconstruct this custom hook, and we're going to access to the theme constant or variable. And here we are creating the background color state and then the use effect hook. So every time that this theme changes, so this it's going to be triggered. So we are going to update the background color state by using the set background color. So if the theme is equal to dark, then the background it's going to be this utility class bg black. Otherwise we're going to use this color just to have this. So that's the color that we're using for the light when the theme is equal to light. And then so wherever we're having inside the background color state, it's going to be used inside the class name. And to be able to use this as a variable inside the class name, so we're going to be adding this curly braces like this, as you can see, and we're going to be adding this just to make sure that this it's going to kind of be reading the states as they are. And here we are going to call the header component that I showed you just to be able to render it like this in the DOM. And the next thing that I added these cards to be able to show the top cryptocurrencies. And also if I turn dark mode on, as you can see, we can be able to see clearly the cards. And also another thing that I want to show you when I reload the page. So we're going to have the skeleton. So we're going to use shadcn component to be able to have this effect, just to make sure that our application looks professional. But also we're going to use Jamstack React query for caching to be able to handle the caching and avoid overusing the API since it is a public API and it has a minimum of rate limits, and also to not impact the user experience. So for caching, it's very important in this operation. And so we're going to use Jamstack query for this. And the API that we're going to be using is the CoinGueko API. So it's a public API, so I don't have to sign up or do anything of that. So also we're going to use other APIs, but here we're going to use the API to be able to get all the coins. So this is the API. And first, we're going to get the information or all the coins, and we're going to work with it first. We're going to store this into our project. So instead of using the real API to not run into the rate limit problem. So after we set up all the logic and make sure that everything is working well, then we can be able to use the real API. So I'm going to show you all of this. And also we're going to use some of the components inside the shadcn. So I'm going to show you as I'm explaining. So let's go back to the VS Code and I'm going to start, like, let me close these tabs and I'm going to start from the data. So the data folder, we're having the all cryptos.ts. And as you can see here, we're having a bunch of information that we stored inside the all cryptos. So I'm going to get into this function. So how we can be able to get this information and work with. So I'm going to show you how I did it. So let's go back to the CoinGueko API. So this is the API. So we're going to copy this API and I'm gonna open up the Thunder client. So that's the REST API extension that I'm using. It's very lightweight, and I use it for all my projects. So we are going to add a new request, and here we are going to copy the API. But first, we need to add something in the query parameters. So what we're going to be adding is the VS currency, and we're going to set the value as USD, and let's click send. So as you can see here, we're having the real prices. So this is coming from the server. So all the information at this time is real. So what we are going to do, we're going to copy this, and I'm going to go to the allcryptos.ts. So let me delete all of this, and I'm gonna copy the new information here. So after doing this, so if I reload the page, so let me reload the page. So we're gonna have new data here because I updated the API. So now what we're going to do, so we're having the information stored here. So what we're going to do, we're going to work with this data that is stored instead of just hitting the API every time that we want to add something or we want to modify our code. And so let me close these tabs. So once we're having the information, we can create our logic. So here, as you can see, I'm creating this function just to be able to simulate the fetching of the data. So as you can see, the function returns a promise of type unknown, and after 2 seconds, just to simulate the delay, we're going to uh, return the all cryptos, which is this array. So once we created all of this, what I did, I created this hooks folder. So inside of it, where I created the use all cryptos. And here, as you can see, we're going to use the stack React query. And here we're going to import the all cryptos array from the fetch all cryptos function that is stored inside the all cryptos. And then we're going to use we're going to use the use query hook, and so these are the types. So the query key is gonna have this name, and the function it's going to be this. So we're gonna import or call the fetch all crypto. Since it is a promise, we're gonna use the await keyword, and also this needs to be async, and we're going to return the data. So here the data that is going to be returned is this whole data here. So now we have one source of truth that we can work with along our project, because we're going to use this for our table later on. So how we can be able to use this information? So here we're going to go to the price cards. So as you can see, it's a pretty lengthy code, but I'm going to explain everything here step by step. So this is the name of our function called the price cards. So here we are going to call or use the hook use all cryptos that I showed you, and the is loading, uh, it's going to be handled by stack React query, and here the data it's going to be named cryptocurrencies, and here I'm creating this state to be able to store only the three most important cryptocurrencies as I'm going to show you. So here in the useIfix, so whenever the component or the application is loaded up or whenever the data changes, so as you can see at the bottom of the useIfix hook, so we're going to track the cryptocurrencies array. So every time that it changes this, it's going to be triggered. So we're going to make sure that the cryptocurrencies array is not undefined. So once it is not undefined, we're going to create a try and catch block. And inside of it, we are going to format the data. So here, as you can see, we are going to assert the cryptocurrencies as unknown because it's going to come from the API. And we're going to only use the three top objects. So we're going to use only this one and this one and this one. So after doing this, here we're going to map through these three objects that I showed you, and we're going to make sure for type safety, make sure that these keys are in each object. So we're going to make sure that the coin is an object. We're going to make sure that the coin is not null. And we're going to make sure that the ID is in the coin, the symbol, the current price, and the name and this key. It's pretty long. So those are the keys that as you can see here. So we're going to make sure that they are in the object. So that's why we know that it is type safe to use each coin. So if this is true, then we are going to go to this block and we are going to return the data as with this format. So the reason why I did so because we need to do some changes into the name of the keys. So I don't want to use this type of naming, but also we're going to use some GSX inside each property, like for the icon. So if the ID is equal to bit icon, which is uh, which is Bitcoin, sorry, which is Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Tether. So we're going to set the icons and the name or the colors accordingly. And also we're going to use this to be able to change the direction or to use the icons up and down based on if this negative or positive. And the background color, so we're going to do the same thing. So that's why I did this formatting. And here, as you can see, we are just creating this interface just to let Typescript know this is what we are going to be storing inside the format date. And also to be able to access very safely when we start working with the three top currencies inside the JSX, sorry. And also we're using the is loading state from Jamstack just to be able to show the skeleton that I showed you. So here we are going to turn this into an array so we can be able to have three iterations, and then we're going to use the skeleton component from shadcn. And also make sure to install the skeleton component. All you have to do is just copy this command line and paste it into your terminal. And here we're having the whole JSX. As you can see, it's a little bit long. So I'm going to explain briefly as much as I could. So here we're going to take the array and we're going to map through it. So the crypto object or object, it's going to be of type price card data, and the index is going to be of type number. And for each iteration, we're going to use the card. And here, so this is for the name, for the icon, this is for the name. And also we are going to use this to be able to format the price. And here at the bottom, we're going to use the icons up or down depending on the change direction. So as you can see, like using the data like this, it's a much cleaner if we would use data that is coming fresh from the API. So that's why we did a little bit of formatting. It made the code a bit complex, but it is useful, very useful when we want to work with it inside the GSX. And also make sure to install all the dependencies like the card dependency or component from shadcn, just to make things to make sure that things are working. So I think that I explained everything, how we were able to really create this. And also we're going to follow the same principle to be able to create other elements like the chart and the tables. So after we added successfully those price cards at the top, the next thing that I did, or I added, as you can see, this element. So we're going to have this drop down to be able to select the coin that we want. So when I click on Ethereum, for example, as you can see, the price and this value is going to change, and also we can be able to search for the coin that we want. So when I click on it, as you can see, we can be able to see its price. And also I added this toggle group. So this is going to be useful for the chart. So you will see the importance of it when we complete this whole component by adding the chart. But now I want to just show you how to be able to create this, even though that it seems very simple to build, but behind the scene there is a lot of code to be able to do all of this. And also when I reload the page, so we're going to have this skeleton just waiting for the API to fetch successfully and getting the information, just to make sure that the application looks professional and neat. So let's go back to the VS Code, and then I'm going to show you what I did to be able to create this. So uh, let me close all of these tabs. So the first thing that I want to mention that we're going to use the same information that we used for the price cards. So there is no need to create another API and fetch the same API. So uh, so it doesn't make any sense, and and it is not like it's not something that valuable, and it's not something that a developer can do into building the application. So it's a waste of time, but also you're gonna waste your rate limit by using the API. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna use the same hook that we created for the price cards, which is the use all cryptos. So let's get into this code, which is the crypto chart.tsx. So as you can see here, I created a new file, of course, called crypto chart.tsx inside the components folder. But also I created the coin combo box to be able to see or render the combo box that I showed you just before. So this is the whole code, so I'm going to explain everything step by step. So the first thing that we should be doing, we should be installing this toggle group elements from shadcn. So just go to the shadcn website and here type in the toggle toggle group. Select the toggle group, and first we need to install this. So all you have to do is just open up your terminal and paste it in here. So I've already done this. I'm not going to do this uh, twice. So after that, we're having all of these. So we're importing the use all cryptos from this hook. And also we're importing this coin combo box from this. So I'm not going to get into this. So after explaining what this code does, then so once we get into this section, then I'm going to go to this file. I'm going to explain everything in it. So let's start by all of these states. So we're going to do the same thing that we did for the price cards. And here we have the value state. So this value state is going to be we created it to be able to store the element that we selected inside this toggle. So I'm going to get into this. We're having the formatted price. So the reason why we created this state just to be able to store the price of the coin whenever we click on the coin that we selected. So we're going to store the price inside the formatted price because we're going to do some formatting by using the JavaScript built-in function to be able to do so. And after this selection, this is going to be added inside the state, and we're going to use it inside the GSX. So the selected period So we're going to use it for this toggle. And here we're having the combo box coins. So we're going to store all the coins that are coming from the data from the React query. And here we're having the selected coin. So it's going to be based on the value that we selected inside the combo box. Sorry, before I talked about the value states and I said that it is referring to this toggle group, but it is referring to the element that we selected into the combo box. So we're going to store this based on the value, and we're going to go through the combo box coin array, and we're going to check if the value inside the array is equal to the value that is inside the state. So if it is true, we're going to store the selected coin in here. So let's get into the use effect hook. As you can see, it is a pretty long code because we're adding some type safety in here just to make sure that the area that we're going to use in to render inside the combo box is type safe. So here inside the use effect hook, so we're going to make sure that the cryptos is not undefined. So if it is not, then we can be able to safely access to this code. And here we're going to create this array formatted data because we're going to take the data from the API and we're going to format it like this one. So as you can see, it's going to be crypto combo box structure. So if we go to the crypto combo box, so this is the structure that we should be having when the data when we do the formatted data. So all of these elements need to be string. So let's go back to the code and here, so we're gonna assert the cryptos as the unknown, which is an array by adding the brackets, and we're gonna use the map function. So the crypto is going to be unknown type, of course, and here inside the if statement, we're gonna do all of these check-ins. So we're gonna check if the crypto is not an object. We're gonna check if the crypto is not null. Then we can be able to check all the keys that are inside the crypto. So these keys are coming from the API. And so just to illustrate this, so let's go back to the all cryptos. So this is the actual data that is coming from the API. So we're going to make sure that these keys, as you can see, are inside each element or each coin that is coming from the API. So so that's why we did this. So we're going to make sure that all of these keys are inside the crypto element. So if it is true, we can safely go to this part and we're going to return each crypto formatted this way. So and also we're going to use the assertion. So we're going to assert that the ID is a string and the name is a string, the image is a string, and also we are going to convert this as a string because it is a number that is coming from the API. And also we're going to do this actual ternary operator. So the reason why I did so, because if we go to the price change percentage 24 hours, so let's go back to our data. So here, as you can see, when this is positive, they don't have the plus sign. So we need to add it manually in here. So that's why I added this turning operator. So here we're going to use an assertion. So we're going to say to Typescript that this is a number. And here we're going to access to the first character. So if this is equal to minus, then we know that it is a positive number, so we're going to add the plus here. Otherwise, so we're going to leave this as it is. And finally, we're going to return null. So this return of null, it's going to be explicitly for an invalid object. And here, to be able to just because we could have an invalid entry and this is going to be null. So we're going to use the filter finally to be able to filter the element that might be null. So then we can be able to get formatted data and type safe in top of this. And finally, we're going to update the combo box coin by using this line, by using its on setter. And all of that, we're going to listen to the crypto. So every time that this changes, all of this code, it's going to be executed. So that's the first use effect. The second use effect, so it's going to be, we're going to create this to be able to select the first coin of the combo box coins area. So if we don't do this, so we're going to have the select coin text in here. So as you can see, if we go into the GSX, so let's go to the, so this is inside the combo box file. So I don't want to access to it right now just to not get overwhelmed by this code. So this is what's going to be happening. So to avoid this, so every time that this array has the information is not null. So that's why we did this as a check. So then we're going to access to the first element of the combo box coin, and then we're going to update the value property. So of course, we're going to listen to these two elements. So every time that is they are changing, so this also is going to be changing. And finally, we're having this use effect for the formatted prices. So here, as you can see, we're using some actual code to be able to format the price. So to be able to do this, again, we're going to listen to these two states. So if the selected coin is not null, then we are going to convert this because it is a string. We need to convert it as a float, and then we are going to use the toLocal string with these properties to be able to format it to the dollar format. And then we're going to update the whatever that we're having inside the formatted price. We're going to update it inside the formatted price state by using its on setter. And so this function is going to be for the toggle group. So this is the JSX. So the JSX here, we're going to use the card tag, the card header, and the card title, and the coin combo box. So as you can see, the coin combo box, it's going to have some prompts. So we need to pass down all the information like the coins, the is loading, the is earned, the value, and the set value to the actual component. So I'm going to get into it just to get an idea to know why we did so. And this for the formatted price. So the formatted price that we updated, that we used here, that we updated and we stored inside the formatted price here. So we're going to use it inside the GSX, of course. And this for the actual color. So this if is equal to minus, so it's going to be red, otherwise it's going to be green. And finally, the toggle group, so the value is going to be assigned to the selected period, and whenever we change each value, the unchanged toggle group that I showed you, it's going to be triggered. And this is basically how we can be able to map through this area to be able to show these elements in here. So now let's get into the coin combobox.tsx. So as I showed you, we're having some prompts. So we need to add them inside the function. And here, instead of using the prompts in here, so I created them in here just to make sure that the code is clean. So here where you're gonna create the open and the set open state for this popover. And also another thing that we should be installing is the popover and the command components. So all you have to do, go back to the shadcn website and select for group, for popover. So let's get into the popover section. Install this by copying this and paste it into your terminal and search for the command. So the same thing, make sure to copy this and paste it in terminal to be able to install them inside the components UI folder. So I'm going to explain this. So as you can see, we passed the is loading from the parent component to be able to use it in here. So here we are gonna use the is loading to be able to show the skeleton whenever the actual application is firstly loaded. So when I reload the page, as you can see, we're having this skeleton in here, and because of this. So only if this is true, we're going to return this GSX. So when it is going to be false, which I'm talking about the is loading, then we can be able to access to this GSX. So that's why we uh, we pass the is loading state from the parent component to use it inside the Queen combo box. And also another thing that I didn't mention, so I want to say that we need to install the skeleton, but we already did use it for the price cards. So here, so that's the JSX of the that we're using for this drop down. So we're having the pop over trigger, which is the button. So it is a simple button with these properties and the so here we're going to see if the value is so we're going to see if the value is selected. So if it is selected, so that's the thing that I was talking about. So if we didn't create this use effects, so we're going to have the selected queen by default, but we need that it should be the first queen that is in the array. So if this is not null, then we are going to safely use this div, and we're going to make sure that the icon is not undefined. Then we can be able to use this image. So we're going to use the image tag from the next.js, and here we are going to add the image or the icon inside the source property of the image. And here the same thing that we did for the alt, and we need to set the width and the height. Otherwise, we're going to have an error. And also talking about the images, make sure to add inside the next.config.tx this to be able to allow Next.js to access to this domain name. Otherwise, we will get an error. And finally, we're having some code for um, to actually access to the array that we're having in the dropdown. And so that's the code that we're using. So we're using the onSelect property for the command item. Also, we're using the image and the queen label to be able to render next to each queen's image its own label. So this is the one that is responsible for this, and the check. So this code that I did, I took it from here. Um, I took it from here, and then I made the changes needed to be able to fit the need of our application. So this is basically how we can be able to create this. As you can see, even if it seems simple to build, but there is a lot of code behind it to make this working. So after we created this part, now we can be able to create our chart. And the next thing that I did, as you can see, I added, sorry, this functioning chart. So, for example, when I change the coin, so when I click on the Bitcoin, as you can see, this chart is going to be changing with this nice animation because we are loading the price that is related to the Bitcoin. But also we can be able to select the previous days that we want to show. If, for example, we click on the 30 days, we're going to show the previous 30 days of this price. And so here, just for the sake of creating the logic and using a simulated fetching data, so we're going to just use the three elements. So for example, when I click on this on the Ripple coin, as you can see, so we're going to have only the prices for this range. So also if I turn the dark mode on, as you can see, things gonna look pretty nice. And if I reload the page, so we're gonna have this skeleton waiting for the data to be fetched. So before I start talking about and seeing, talking about the logic to be able to create all of this, so we're going to use the recharts package for this chart. So if we go to the shadcn, as you can see, they are using the charts in here. And if we view the code of this one, as you can see, they are using the recharts package. So it's a popular package and it's pretty easy to really use the data and convert them into these beautiful charts. And also I'm going to show you how to be able to create this gradient color, which I think makes things look even nicer. And also, before I start talking about the code, we're going to use this API. So this API has the ID. So we're going to use for each every time that we want to access the data. So we're going to use the actual ID of the coin that we clicked on. So that's the actual API. So the first thing that I did just to be able to get the data, so I did the same thing that I did for the other for the other elements, just to avoid working with the real API and to avoid having the rate limit. So what I did, I just went here, as you can see, I added the ripple, which is the name of the ID of the coin that we want, and I clicked on send. So we're gonna have all the prices. So the same thing that we can do for the Bitcoin. So if I type in the Bitcoin here and click send, so we normally need, we will see the prices, the current prices of the Bitcoin, and also make sure to add these parameters. They are mandatory, so you can be able to access to the object, which are the prices. So after having these prices, what I did, I created this all coins prices. So here I stored all the prices, and also we are going to have, like, as you can see, it is a pretty heavy objects, and not only we're going to access to the prices object, and we're going to access the market cap, but we are going to use only the prices object. So for each element, for each coin, I stored it into its own constant. So I did the same thing for the Bitcoin, and I did the same thing for the Ethereum. So that's just to let you know, and so that's very important. Notice that here we are going to just use this temporarily just to make sure that our logic with like showing the information into the application is correct before we can use the real API. Just to simulate the fetching, I did the same thing here. I'm going to return a promise. So if the ID, so this function is going to accept the ID as a string. So I'm going to show you how to use it inside the crypto chart.tsx. So depending on the ID, we are going to return the actual constant or the actual object. So after that, let's go to the crypto chart.tsx. And the first thing that we need to do, we need to add this state called the chart data. So this is where we are going to store the prices, and the chart data type, it's going to be to have the data and the price. So those are the properties that we're going to use. So we can be able to use this chart data inside the actual inside the area chart from the recharts package. So I'm going to show you how we can use this. And also I added this use effect hook. So this use effect hook, it's going to enable us to fetch the data. So as you can see, we're having this function fetch prices, and here we are going to await the fetch crypto prices, which is a promise. So that's the function that I showed you, sorry, the function that we are going to call um, inside this use effect hook, and we're going, since it is accepting ID as a prompt, we need to pass it like this, and then we are going to assert the price. So that's just for type safety. So we're going to tell the TypeScript that the data that is coming from this actual function, it's going to be this structure. So to avoid having some type in errors, and then we're going to do some formatting. So all what we are going to do, we are going to store each element. So here we're having two elements inside an array. So for each element, for the timestamp, it's going to be added inside the date, and the price is going to be added inside the price property. And so here we are going to actually update the so we're going to update the filtered price or the chart data depending on the selected period. So if it is 7 days, we are going to update so we're going to use the slice just to be able to access to the first 7 objects inside the formatted price, and we're going to start inside the filtered price, and then we're going to update the chart data. And this chart data, it's going to be used at the bottom in here. So inside this card content, so it was previously uh, empty. So here we're going to use the is loading. So the is loading just to be able to show the skeleton. So after the is loading is false, then we are going to access to this part. And this is how we are going to use the structure for showing the actual chart. But the most important thing, or the two most important things here, so make sure to add this code to be able to add the linear gradient color that I showed you. And here inside the x-axis, the data key is going to be price. And the y-axis, the data key, so this is going to be date, and the y-axis is going to be price. And for the area, um, so the so here for the date key, it's going to be price. And finally, I was looking for the data. So the data is going to be inside the area chart tag, and we're going to link it to the chart data. So this is basically how we can be able to create this chart. So as you can see, everything is working fine for this moment or at this moment. So the next thing that we're going to do, we're going to start working on this part just to show the global information of the cryptocurrency market. So after we created our graph, the next element that I created, as you can see, is the market overview. So we're going to just show the most four important information: the total market cap, the 24-hour volume, the total cryptocurrencies, and the Bitcoin dominance. And also when I reload the page, so we're going to have the skeleton again, just waiting for the data to be fished. Again, we're going to simulate the API, and we're going to extract the information from the CoinGueko API, and we're going to use it locally as I did for the elements that we created so far. So when I turn on the dark mode, as you can see, everything looks great. So let's go back to the VS Code. And before I start explaining what I did, so that's the API that we're gonna hit to be able to get that kind of information. So as you can see here, I added the new request by using the sender client. So when you hit this API, when you click on send, so we're gonna have this data. So what I did, just copied this whole data. So don't make sure to not modify anything. Like the structure need to be the same as if we are getting the data from the API. So in the data folder, as you can see, I created this file called the global market data. So here, as you can see, I paste the data and assign it to the market global constant. And also we're gonna follow the same principles that I did for the other elements. So we're gonna create this fetch market global, which is going to return a promise of type unknown, because here we are gonna just use the type unknown since this is not an array, it's an object, and we're gonna return the market global, which is this object. So after doing this, as you can see, I added this file, market global schema.js. So here we're going to use the Zod schema. And to be honest with you, that's the first time that I'm going to use Zod to know that Zod is also used for APIs. So uh, what I was knowing is that only Zod is used with the forms, but I found that it could be used to be able to work with complex types and structures, especially when we are working with APIs. And since we know the structure of the API that is coming from the API route, so we can be able to define the structure by using the Zod. So if we don't use Zod, we need to create our safeguard function. So it's going to be pretty complex and not readable and not scalable. So it is very important to use a library to be able to do this for us. So that's how we are going to create our schema by using the Zod library. And we're going to export the market global schema. And also we're going to export the type if we want to use it. So after doing this, I'm going to go to the global sorry, I'm going to go to the use global market.js. So here, that's the custom hook to be able to fetch the data and use the use query hook from from Tanstack. So we're going to do the same thing that we did for the all cryptos. So we're going to use the await keyword since this is a promise, and then we're going to return the data. So let's delete this just for debugging. So after that, as you can see, so this is the file that is responsible to render this whole thing. And as you can see, it is a pretty lengthy code. The same thing for the other elements, but I'm gonna explain each thing step by step. So I'm gonna start from this place. So here we're having this empty global data, so which has the type global data. And here we are going to use the use global market to be able to get the data from this custom hook that we created. And since we are using the use query from Tanstack, so that's how we're deconstructing this way. And the data it's going to be so instead of using the data, so we're going to use the global market data. So inside this use effect hook, as you can see, so we're going to check if the is loading is so if the is loading is false, is complete, sorry, and the global market data exists. So if this is happening, because the reason why I did this check, because I had an issue, an error, so I have the error, then I get the information. Just to make sure that I don't have this error, I want to make sure that the global market data exists and the loading finished. So here we're going to use the try and catch block, and also here, as you can see, we're going to use the market global schema from the market global schema.js. So this is how we are going to make sure that we're going to make sure that the global market data um, is correctly parsed, and also it is defined with the same type that we are going to use for the market global schema. So if the parse data, that data is null, so it means that the data here object is empty. Otherwise, we're gonna start going to this part and we're gonna deconstruct these objects from the parse data. So let me open up the console log And as you can see, so that's the structure. So that's why we use the data property in here, because the object is going to be data, and then we're gonna have all the properties needed to be able to show the information and to work with the data to show them in our UI. So here we are going to sum up all the values inside the total market cap. So if we go back to the actual data, global market data, as you can see, we're having all the values. So we need to have the total of all the values for each property. So that's why if we go back to this file, we're going to use the reduce function. And here we are going to see the dominance or the Bitcoin dominance. Well, we are going to make sure that this is not null. So if it is not, we're going to go to this part. Otherwise, we're going to return 0. And after that, we are going to format our data. So we're going to define the type of the formatted data with the global data structure. And this is, so we're going to assign each element in here to the parameter that we want. And then we're going to update our global data with the formatted data. And here we are gonna inside the catch error block. So we are going to return the error. And we're gonna use the Zod instance for this. So this is where the Zod library comes handy to be able to, especially because we are working with TypeScript, so to make sure that our application is type safe, especially when working with the APIs. So the array dependencies need to be here. So we need to track these two variables. So every time that they're changing all this block, it's going to be re-rendered. And this is a function to be able to do the formatting of the number. And finally, we're having the GSX. So here for the top metrics section. So we're going to make sure that the global data is not null. Then we are going to safely access to this part. And for each tag, we are going to assign its own value so we can be able to see our element organized that way. So this is basically how we can be able to create this. So the JSX is pretty simple to handle, but the complex thing is the code inside this use effect and how we can be able to make our application robust, especially when working with types. And here at the bottom, so when the is loading is true, we're gonna return this. We're gonna go to this block to be able to show the skeletons. So this is basically how we can be able to create this. So it's a pretty long and complex code to be able to handle to create this UI. So after we created the market overview card, the next element that I added, as you can see, is the market highlights. So in here, we're gonna show two elements, the top categories and the market pairs. So for now, I'm gonna just show you how to be able to show the top categories since we're gonna use different APIs. So this is gonna be for API and the other one, which is the market pair, is going to be for another API. So that's why I want to just show you one thing at a time. And also, if I reload the page, we're going to have the skeleton just waiting for the data to be fetched rather than just showing an empty place in here. And if I turn the dark mode on, as you can see, we can be able to clearly see the information when the dark mode on. And before I start talking about the code, I want to just show you the API that we're going to use from the CoinGueko API, which is this one. And if we copy this and go to create a new request in Thunder Client plugin, so as you can see, we're going to have this array of this information. So the only thing that we're going to need for this is the name property. So I'm going to show you how we are going to extract the information and render it into the UI. And we're going to use the same principle, the same plan that we did for the other elements, meaning that we're going to copy this array, and I created a new file called categories inside the data folder. So as you can see, I pasted into the coin categories array, and here we're gonna simulate the fetching of the all categories, and we're gonna do the same thing. So we're gonna return the promise with the type unknown, and as you can see, I added the brackets telling to Typescript that it's gonna be an array. And after 2 seconds, we're going to resolve our function by returning the coin categories array. So that's pretty straightforward. And next, I created the use all categories hook. So we're going to do the same thing like we did for the other information. So as you can see, I added this code just to simulate the error. Like for example, if we have a rate limit or something bad happened when fetching the data. So I added this code just to simulate the fetching. So I'm gonna show you what's going to happen if I comment out all these and return in throw in an error, what's going to happen. So that's the second step. So after that, I created the the so if we go to the components folder, I created the market highlight.tsx. So this is the whole code that is responsible to render this whole part. So of course, this component, which is called market highlights, need to be called inside the page.tsx, and we're going to put it under the market highlights to be able to render it in our main page. So let's go back to our code. So here, as you can see, we are importing the main elements that we're going to work with for our code. So the top category is going to have only the name because we're going to use it like in the categories array. So we are certain the type of categories. It's going to be of type categories that has only the name string. So now you will be able to understand how we're going to work with type card functions, and how we are gonna be able to do the data formatting much easier, because we're gonna have just a simple structure, which is only the name, which is a type string. So before I start talking about this function, but I need, because this function is going to be called inside this use effect, but I need to start from here. Then I'm going to go back to this function to know what is its purpose. So here we're going to use the use all categories that we created in this file. So we're going to deconstruct it, and we're going to extract the data, the is loading and the is error. So those are the properties that we're going to work with in our component. And this categories area, as you can see, we are going to store whatever that is coming from the function or from the API. So inside this use effect hook, so we're going to do the same thing. So it's going to be dependent upon the all categories data. So every time that this changes, so all of this is going to be run. So we're going to make sure that the all categories data is not null, and then we're going to do some formatting. So here, as you can see, because this is going to be an array, as you can see, that is of type unknown array. So we're going to use this slice because if we go back to our data coming from the API, as you can see, we're having a lot of objects. But we are going to just work with the three most important elements. So those are the things that we're going to show in our UI. And here we are going to map through each element after getting just the three most important elements. And here inside this use effect, we're going to use the isCategory function, which is a type guard function. The reason why we're going to do so, because this category object is unknown and TypeScript is not sure. So TypeScript wants to know what's the type structure that we're going to work with that is coming from the API. So I want to make sure that it's going to uh, it's going to follow a certain structure before we can work with it. So that's where the type guard functions come in. So it's pretty simple. So this the name of the function. So the category is going to be of type no, and we are saying Typescript that the return it's going to be of type category, which has the name property. So that's why, for example, here, if I if I type in the dot, I'm going to have the name property, and that's because we tell Typescript that the function it's going to return an object of type name. And here we're gonna do some checks. We're gonna make sure that the category is an object. We're gonna make sure that the category is not null. And we're gonna make sure that the name property is inside the category. And here we are gonna make sure that the type of the category as a category by a certain its type dot name is a string. So it might be a little bit complicated when using TypeScript, but when you work with big projects, especially when we're working with APIs, so you're gonna make sure you're gonna make your application more secure and more robust. So here after this, so if for an object that doesn't meet the requirement that we are putting in here, it's going to return a null. And here we're gonna filter the elements or the object that has the null element in them. And after that, we're going to update the categories by adding the set categories. So at the bottom, as you can see, we're having this GSX, and also we're having some Tyranny operators in here, because here we're going to use the is category error, unlike what I did for the previous element, which is something that I should do. So I need to simulate for any edge case. So I decided to go for this case and start working with the error. So just to show you, like, let's go back to the use all categories and let's throw an error. So I'm going to comment out this. So I'm going to save our code and let's reload the page and you will see what's going to happen in here. So we're going to have the error message after 2 seconds. So hopefully that's going to happen. As you can see, failed to load categories, please try again. So the reason why I did so, just to be able to understand how this is working. So here, so the H2 tag, so it's just showing the market highlights. So we're gonna we're gonna test if check if the is category error is true. So if it is true, we're going to render this error that I showed you. Otherwise, we're going to make sure that the categories is not null and the is category loading is false. So if it is true, we are going to show our uh, our element. And otherwise, we are going to show the skeleton. So that's the logic that we are using to be able to handle the loading situation and the error situation as well. So let me go back in here and comment this just to be able to see the elements inside here, because I'm gonna talk about the component that we are going to access to be able to show these elements. So inside of putting these elements in the GSX, which is going to make things less organized, so I decided to create another function and put them inside another functional component. So as you can see, we are calling the crypto categories component, which has the category property. And here, as you can see, we are going to add the prompt here with the category type as an array. And this is how we are going to render our UI by using this GSX. So here we're using the icon, the top categories, and this div we're going to access to the categories area by using the map function, and we're gonna render each category name, and those are the utility classes. So I'm not going to get into them. They are pretty straightforward to be able to customize and style our UI. So this is basically how we can be able to create this. So even though that it seems simple because we're having less information here, but as you can see, there are a lot of there's a lot of steps that we need to go through in order to make sure that this is going to work fine. So the next thing that I'm going to add under this top categories section, I'm going to add the market pairs, and we're going to use another API route. So meaning that we need to again do the same steps to be able to make this in our application. So after we added the top categories in the market highlights card, so the next element that I added is the market pairs. So, also when I reload the page again, we're gonna have the skeleton waiting for the actual information to load up because for this part we need to use another API. So I'm going to show you the API that we are going to be using, which is this one. So we're going to use another API as I said. So let's go back to the VS Code. So the first thing that we need to do, as I did for the other elements, so we need the information to work with. So the first thing that we're going to get is the array from the API. So this is the API that we are going to be using, and this is the response. So we're going to copy this. And again, I created the exchanges.js inside the data folder, and I pasted the whole information inside the exchanges constant. And also here, I used the Zod library. So, and that's something that I didn't do for the categories, uh, since something that I'm newly learning to be able to use Zod for APIs. So instead of setting myself by myself the structure uh, of the actual data, and I want to use a library that is robust and that could handle the future changes that could be happening for the API, so it doesn't break the actual application. So that's why I used Zod. So here we are going based on the structure that we got from the API. We are going to create our schema by using Zod, and then we are going to use the infer infer method to be able to extract all the types from the exchange schema to be able to add it inside the exchange type. And this will allow us, so if something in the future changes into the API structure, so it's not going to break the application. So that's why we used as the Zod library. So we're going to use the export keyword because we're going to be using it inside the market highlight.jsx to be able to define the state that we're going to be using to show or to render in the application. And here, so we're going to use the fetch exchange function, and it's going to return a promise of type exchange that is coming from the type. So as I said, we can be able to use that type very safely because we are using a library called Zod. So it's gonna help us a lot, especially when working with types. So here we are going to see if the result, so we're going to use the exchange schema.array that save parse to be able to see if the actual data that is coming from the API follows the same structure that we created by using Zod. So if the result that success is true, we're going to resolve the result that data. Otherwise, we're going to throw an error. So after we created this, of course, we need to create the custom hook. So I created the use all exchanges.js. So it's the same structure that we did for the other elements. So the difference here, we're going to use the fetch exchanges function. So after we created all of this, we now can be able to go to the market highlight.tsx. So here we are going to be adding, so we're going to be adding this part to be able to use the exchanges hook to extract the data, the is loading and the is error. And notice here I explicitly added the names is exchanges loading or error just to not be overwhelmed by and because I'm going to use the same structure for the all categories to not get lost with the naming. So again, I created the total pairs so we can be able to extract the data by using this use effect hook at the bottom and save it inside the total pairs. So as you can see, I created another use effect to be able to extract the data, and so we're going to make sure that the all exchanges is not null or undefined, and we're going to make sure that all exchanges is an array. So if these are true, then we're going to access to this block, and we're going to use the reduce function, because here what we are going to do the sum up by using the trade volume 24 hour BTC. So if we go back to our structure of the data, just to show you the actual parameter or property that we're going to be using. So we're going to be using this, and we're going to sum things up from all the objects inside the exchanges, and we're going to store it inside the total pairs. Then we're going to update the total pairs by whatever that we're having in here. And then, so once we're having the information and the total pairs, so what we're going to be doing, we're going to be creating the same structure that we did for the category, just to be able to handle the error and also to handle the loading state. So if the exchange error is true, we're going to return this div sent to the user that the loading the exchange data was failed. Otherwise, we're going to check if the all changes is not null, and also if the is exchange loading is true, is false, sorry. Then we're going to access to this component, and we're going to pass in inside of it the total pairs. Otherwise, we're going to show the skeleton. So let's go to the market pairs very briefly. So as you can see, we're having the prompt. So that's the definition of the total pairs state. And we created this function to be able to format whatever that we're having the total pairs. And so that's the JSX that we're going to be returning. So we're having the icon, the market pairs text, and here we're going to use the format number, and we're going to pass inside of it the total pairs. And if this somehow is undefined or null, it's going to return 0. So this is basically how we created this. So the last thing that we need to create in our dashboard is the table showing the 5 most important cryptocurrencies into the market. And the final element that I added is this table to be able to show the 5 most important cryptocurrencies. So as you can see, that's the table, and this is the information that we are showing. And also we're going to have the button see all to be able to extend this table and show it in another in a dialog to show more information. So I'm going to be adding this, but this is the actual design. And also when I reload the page, as you can see, we're going to have the skeleton animation waiting for the data to be loaded. So let's go back to the code, but before that, we need to install this table component. As you can see from shadcn, just copy this and paste it in terminal, and you should be having the table.jsx inside the components folder. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be using the same data from the all cryptos, but also in this file, I added the schema. So since we used the ZOD, and that's something that, to be honest with you, that I just learned and I just discovered. So it's very a good practice to use this library when working with APIs rather than creating by yourself type guard functions. And also this schema, it's going to be uh, so it's going to be valid if some fields that are come in, new fields that are, it's going to be flexible. So that's the word that I was looking for. If the structure of the data coming from the API is a bit different than this one, so it's not going to throw any errors. So that's why we use SOD. SOD is going to handle all of this for us. And as you can see, here we're going to define the schema of the API response as an array. And for this code, it's going to be the same and the same for the all cryptos array. So after this, what I did, I created this market table.tsx. So as you can see here, we are importing the table elements from the shadcn, and here the necessary components or elements that we are going to be using. So as you can see here, we are going to call the use all cryptos like normally we did for the other components. And here we're going to create the state to be able to save the top 5 currencies. So inside this use effect hook, as you can see, we're going to see if the altcoins data is not undefined. So if it is not, then we're going to use this all crypto schema that is coming from the all cryptos.ts. So which is this part. So that's why we use the export, so we can be able to use it in here. And we're going to use the parse method from Zot, and we're going to pass inside of it the all coins data just to parse the data or the data with the valid schema that we defined inside the all cryptos, and assign it to the validate schema. So here we can be able to safely use this, and we're gonna use the slice method to be able to extract just the the 5 most important objects, and then we're gonna use the mob function. So here, as you can see, the coin is already defined, so we can be able to use the properties very safely. And so it is, so using this method is it's going to make your code cleaner rather than just trying to do this thing by yourself, and that it's more error prone. So after that, we're going to update the top 5 currencies with the map data that we stored inside this constant. So if it is an error, we're gonna catch it, and we're gonna return as an error So this to be able to call the method. And finally, so this is the GSX that we're using. As you can see, we're using all the components in here. So we're defining the headers and inside the body. So we're going to use the is error boolean. So if it is true, we're going to return this GSX. Otherwise, when it is loading, we are going to access this block to be able to show the skeleton, as you can see. Otherwise, we're going to use the top 5 currencies, and we're going to use this GSX to be able to show all the cells inside the table. So this is basically how we can be able to create our table. So it is a lot easier because we already defined the structure and the logic to be able to access the data, which is the all cryptos. So the next thing that we need to be adding is the dialog. So when I click on the see all, we're gonna see all more information about each cryptocurrency, and we're gonna use the React table from TaskStack to be able to handle the table much efficiently. So after we added the table of the 5 top cryptocurrencies, now when I click on the see all, as you can see, we're going to have this table just to show extensive data about each coin. And also if we want to access to other coins, as you can see, and also here in the table, we are going to render all the coins that we fetched from the all cryptos area. So as you can see, I can be able to access to the other coins just from here and get the information needed from each coin that I want. So now, for now, the only functionality that is working is the searching. So I want to first focus and explain the steps to be able to create this before we can move on to adding more functionalities like the sorting, the pagination, and to create a function to download this table as a CSV file. And also this height is going to be changing when we fix how many elements that we are going to show for each page. So let me close this. And the first thing that we're gonna need, we need to install the table component. So by the way, so this is what we are gonna use as a guideline to be able to install the dark table. So they are creating this very helpful uh, blog page explaining how to be able to use TanStack with along with the table component from shadcn. So we're gonna need to install the component table, but also we're going to install the package from TanStack. So I've already done this, so it's very simple. Just copy these and paste them into your terminal. So as you can see, just for the structure, what I did just to make things organized, I created first a new folder called the crypto dialog inside the components. So here we're going to have the main file, which is the crypto data. But before I start talking about the code of this file, so first we need to set our columns. So for the columns, so first we're going to import the column diff. And again, I'm gonna go back to the actual page. And here, as you can see, so this is the basic start. So we need to define our columns. So here, as you can see, we're going to import the column diff from the package. So of course, we're going to change the data. And this is what we are doing. We're going to import the column diff from the package. And this is the actual column. So first, we need to define the structure of the column. So this is the whole structure that we are going to use for our column. And here we're going to create our state crypto column that's going to accept as a type uh, crypto data. So here we're going to have the name. So the accessor key, it needs to be the same as we did for the name of the property, so that React table can be able to access to the actual data. And the header, so this is the name that we are going to put into the header of the table. So and the cell, so we're going to return for each element, so we're gonna return this GSX just to be able to render the image of the coin, like as you can see. And we're gonna use the image tag from TanStack for image optimization. And next to it, we're gonna use the span, and we're gonna access to the name of each cell by using the row that original that name. So for the price, it's going to be things a bit different. So we are going to extract the price from each cell, and then we're going to do some formatting by using uh, this JavaScript function, and then we are going to render wherever that we have it as a result inside this pen. For the volume, we are going to use the parse float to be able to actually um, convert whatever that we have inside the get value to a float. And for the market value, so we're going to do the same thing. And as you can see here, we're using the pre-tag just for this formatting, text formatting. And here we're having the high in 24 hour, the highest price in 24 hours, sorry. So we're going to do the same thing that we did for the price. We need to format the price before we render it into the GSX. The same thing for the low in 24 and the change percentage. So here we are going to actually use this color class based on the value with which whether it is positive or negative. So if it is positive, we're going to use this utility class and to be able to make it green. Otherwise, we're going to use the red class to be able to make it red, and whatever that we're having inside the color class, we're going to add it inside the class name. So this is the basic structure of the header. And then we're having the data table. So for the data table, what I did, um, so let's go back to our blog post. And here what I did, just copied this and I pasted it in here inside the data table, and I added the filtering functionality. So I added first the imports. So if we go to the, so let me go all the way up just to go to the filtering section. So here, as you can see, we're going to add the column filter state, but also the get filtered row as imports, and then we're going to add these, and then we're going to add all of this except the sorting. So we're going to use it later on. So this is what I did. So I added all the elements needed inside the use React table, but also I added the column filters and the set column filters. And also I added the input, as you can see, and the only thing that I changed is the property name, which is we're going to use name instead of email, because this is what we set uh, here in the column definition as an accessor key, which is name. So after that, then we can be able to go to the crypto dialog. So here we're going to fetch or get the data from the use all cryptos. So the thing that I need to do, I need to go to the market table.tsx. So inside the market table.csx, so we're going to start from the parent component where we are using the crypto table dialog. So this is where we are going to be using it, and we're going to pass inside this component the altcoins. So the altcoins, it's a new state that I created in here, and as you can see, it's going to have the type all cryptos type. So this one is coming from this file all cryptos .ts, which is the type that we created when we built the market table.tsx. So let's go back to the file. So now, so um, so now after we defined all of these elements, so I need to go to the market table, sorry. So now we defined the altcoins structure, and here, as you can see, I created here, as you can see, um, at the bottom, I added the set all coins to be able to update all coins with all coins that we're having inside the array. So after that, let's go to the crypto table dialog. So as you can see here, we're going to use this big key from Typescript just to be able to extract the properties from the all crypto type that we are going to need to be able to use for our table. So as you can see, we're having the single coin type that we're going to use it inside the all coins. So we're going to define the each coin object with the parameter just to be able to access, like for example, if I want to set the name. So it's going to be very easy for me and to be able to have some auto suggestion, as you can see. because we defined manually the type of the coin, which is the single coin type. So after doing the formatting, then we are going to update the crypto data. So the crypto data is going to be sorted as crypto data type as an array. And as you can see into the prompt, so we're going to use the all cryptos type. And then we're going to take the actual crypto data and we're going to pass it inside the crypto table. And we're going to do the same thing for the column. And so the crypto table, as you can see, so this is the code that I just showed you to be able to render the actual table. And the next thing that I added is the sorting. So as you can see, I can be able to sort by the name. So, and also we can be able to know which column has been sorted. So when we make the sorting, as you can see, the color is going to be changing. So as you can see, you can be able to sort successfully all the elements. And so this is what we are going to be building next. So first, let's go back to the data table blog post from shadcn. So here, as you can see, we're going to be adding these this state sorting, and also we're going to be adding the sorting state and the get sorted row model from the package. But also we're going to be adding the on sorting change and also the get sorted row model. So if we go to our data table.tsx, so this is what I did. I added all the elements needed to make sure that the sorting uh, works. So after doing this, we're going to go to the crypto columns.tsx. So here we're going to do some changes inside the column structure. So here what I did is I created a function called sortable header that's going to be reused across all the headers as you can see. And also it's going to accept two elements, the colon and the label. And for the colon, we need to define the shape of it along with the label. So the shape of the sortable header props, so it's going to be this. So we're having the colon, which of type colon, and this type is coming from the React TanStack table. That's going to accept the crypto data and the unknown type. And the label, it's going to be a string. And here first for the function, the sortable header. So we are going to use the get is sorted from the colon. And so we're gonna store whatever result that we're having inside the is sorted. So it's going to be to be false or true. And then we're going to return a simple button of the variant ghost. And so the class name, it's going to be so if it is sorted, so we're going to use this utility class to set the text as the color and the onClick event listener. So we're going to trigger the toggle sorting and we're going to make the sorting as ascendant. And here inside the button, we're going to return the label and the sorting icon. So the sorting icon, we're going to call this sorting icon function. So instead of doing it in here, just to make sure the code is cleaner, so we're going to do the whole logic, which is simple inside the sorting icon, which is going to accept the is sorted as a boolean or string. And so we're going to return the icon depending on the state of the is sorted. And then we're going to call the sorting icon inside the sortable header. So by doing this, we can be able to call this sortable header inside all the headers as you can see. So the only thing that is going to be changing is the label. So here for the name, here for the price, and here for the volume. So after doing this, you should have the sorting functionality as I showed you working pretty well. Alongside, we can be able to filter things as we are sorting. So now our table start getting a bit completed. So the next thing that I'm gonna add in is the pagination. So now we're having functional pagination. So here I can be able to change the how many elements I want to see in a table. So as you can see, we're having maximum 10 coins to show for each page. And also we can go from one page to another, as you can see. And if I want to go to right to the last page, so all I have to do is to click on this button. And if I want to go back to the first page, all I have to do is to click on this button and everything is handled by ChatStack. So when the rows per page changes, also the pages are going to be changing accordingly. So let's go back to the VS Code, but first I want to go back to the actual post from shadcn, and I'm going to start by going to the pagination section, and we need to add these two elements. So the get pagination row model, we need to import it from the package, and then we're going to use it and assign it to the get pagination row model from the table. And this is what I did here. So I added the get pagination row model, but also I assigned it to the so I assign it to the get pagination row model, but also make sure to add the on pagination change. We're gonna assign it to the set pagination. So some of the things that I'm going to show here are not shown into the blog post from shadcn. And also we're going to be adding this pagination object that has the page index and the page size, because by default it's going to be 10, but we want to change the page size. So this is how we're going to do it. And also we're going to use the pagination type. So this is the structure of it. And also I did a slight update into the prompt, since this data table prompts accept a generic type. So we're going to be adding the crypto data here and the unknown, because when I wanted to use this table in to be able to pass it inside the pagination area, so I had a mismatch. So Typescript didn't know what type that we're going to use it for the table. So that's why I made these changes, because we're going to use these three elements or objects inside the pagination area. So the pagination area is this whole section. So instead of putting the whole code in this data table, which is going to make the code longer, so what I did, I created another file called pagination area inside the pagination folder. So here we are going to accept the prompts. So as you can see, if we hover over the table parameter, so TypeScript know which type that we're going to use for the table, and it's going to match the type that we set for our table beforehand. So the pagination, it's going to be of pagination type, so we're going to import it from the data table.tsx and the set pagination. So here at the JSX, so you will know why we did so. So the pagination selection is the component that we're using for having the select component. So I added it inside another or external file. So we're gonna pass inside of it or pass down the pagination and the set pagination. And here, as you can see, we're gonna use the button to be able to go to the next page or to the last page, or go to the last page that we're having. So the reason why we passed the table inside this function, because we're going to use these built-in functions to be able to make this working, and we're gonna use this from TaskTag, which makes made this much easier for us. So this is for the first page. We're gonna use these functions. The same for the previous page, we're going to use the previous page function. And for the next page, we're going to use the next page. So all of these are from the TaskTag package. So now let's go to the pagination selection. So we're going to pass inside of it the pagination and the set pagination. So of course we need to add to set the structure of the prompt. As you can see, again, we're going to use the pagination type from the data table. And this is the code to be able to update the selection whenever we are clicking on the selection. So whenever this is going to be updated, the pagination state, it's going to be lifted up to the parent component, which is the data table, just to be able to make the changes needed in our table. So hopefully that I've been able to explain this well. So now our table is pretty much completed. So the next thing that I'm going to do before I start, before I add this function to be able to download the table, which pretty simple. What I want is I want to create to make this search functionable, and I want to be a live search. So whenever I type in stuff, I want to have some results depending on what I'm typing. And when I click on the coin that I want, it's going to open up this whole table, and within the this is going to be updated automatically depending on what I typed inside the search bar in the main page, so you can be able to get the information that we want inside the table. So I'm going to work on this, then I'll be back to explain everything that I did step by step. So now inside the search box, so if I type in something, as you can see, we're going to have this beautiful live search, and we're going to have all the elements that are related to the keyword that I'm typing. And as you can see, if I type in Bitcoin, so I'm going to have all the information that, or all the coin that has the bit inside their name. So I can be able to click on the coin that I want. So as you can see, I'm going to access to the coin right away after clicking on it by opening up the actual dialog. And as you can see, the key is going to be set automatically inside this input, so you can be able to get access to the coin that I want. And also, for example, if I click on the see more coins, so when I click on this, as you can see, I'm going to be able to access to the remaining coins like related to the search query that I typed in, just to enhance the user experience and also access to the search results much faster. So let's go back to the VS Code. And the first thing that I'm going to start with is we are going to use zustand for state management because we are going to use this state and to be able to manage the state and use it between the dialog and the search input, which is in another component. And instead of using the prop drilling, so it is very useful to use state management, even if it's simple logic. So as you can see, we need first to install the zustand. So the only thing that you need to do is just type in npm install zustand, and after hitting enter, so the actual package is going to be installed. So here we're going to import the create object from zustand, and we need to set the structure of our use app store. So we're having the search and the open table dialog. So the search says, so this is where we're going to be storing the search query from the search bar into the header, and this is related to the opening and the closing of the actual dialog. And here we're going to create the use app store, and here we're going to set the default value. So search is going to be empty, and the open table dialog it's going to be false, and those are the setters. So this we're going to call it into the component that we want, as I'm going to show you. So after doing this, the component or the next component that we are going to go into is the header.tsx. So as you can see here, we are going to create the main search and the set main search state. And also we're going to import the data from the use all cryptos. And here we are going to store this data inside the altcoin so you can be able to use it in the live search component and to do the filtering. Here we are going to update the set all coins or the altcoin state by getting the data from the use all cryptos, and this use effect is going to be dependent upon the data. So after that, as you can see here, we are going to call this live search. So this live search is this component, as you can see, that we're using to be able to show the live search. So I'm going to explain everything here step by step. So as you can see here, we created another div that is going to wrap this whole thing. So here, this live search is going to be only shown if the main search dot links is more than 0. And one thing that I forgot to mention, that the main search state is going to be linked to the value of the input and the onChange event listener. So we're going to update the main search by using the set main search. So when the main search is more than 0, meaning that only when we type something, then we are going to show this whole component, which is the live search. And in the live search, we're going to pass inside of it the altcoins, the main search, and the set main search. So we're going to explain why we did so. So inside the function, so this is the structure of our props. So the altcoins, it's going to be of type all cryptos type. So the main search is going to be string, and this is for its setter. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to create a filter. So we're going to filter things out by using the altcoins. And here we are going to use only the set open dialog and the set search from the use app store. So this is the JSX. I'm going to explain the logic behind this. So if the filter coin that length is more than 0, we're going to access to this whole part. Otherwise, we're going to show the no coins found. Like for example, like this. So we're going to have this uh, this text because now we are accessing to this block. But if the filter that length is more than 0, then we're going to just show only the 5 top elements. So that's why we're using the slice. So here we are going to access to each element. And as you can see, so this is the div that we're going to be using. And so those are the properties. So we're having the key, the on-click event listener. So when we click on the coin, we are going to pass inside the search the coin.name. So this set search, it is coming from the use app store. So we're going to update the search states in the zustand so we can be able to access it from the dialog as I'm going to explain. So the set main search, it's going to be empty just to make sure that this is going to close this live search because this is what it is dependent upon to be shown in the UI. And here we're going to open the open dialog. So whenever we click on the coin, so this is what's going to handle the click when trigger the opening of the dialog. Whenever I click on the whenever I click on the coin, so this function is going to be triggered. So here we're going to use the image tag from Next.js, and here we are going to use the span to be able to show the coin that name, and here we are going to show the actual price as shown here, and we're going to do some formatting. So we're going to use this format function, and at the bottom, as you can see, so we're going to have this bar. So this is this is the code of it. So if the filter that coin, so we're going to make sure that the length is more than 0. So if it is, we're going to show this button, and when we click on it, so we need to store the main search query inside the search from zustand. We're going to make this empty so we can be able to close the live search, and the open dialog, it's going to be set to true to open it up. And here we're going to show this one. So all we have to do is we're gonna use the links of what we're having inside the filter queen, and we're gonna minus by 5 since we are set it in here. So after doing this, now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to the dialog to be able to trigger what is happening. So whenever we click on the actual coin. So let's go to the open dialog. So we're going to go to the crypto dialog.tsx. So here, so we are going to be adding only this code. So if the open type dialog is true, so we are going to, so if the open tab, so this use effect is responsible when the dialog is false, meaning that when the dialog is closed, we need to update the search. So when we open it up again, so we're not going to find the search query into the input. And as you can see here, we are importing these states from the use app store. So, and this is basically how we are going to do this. And also another thing that to be able to filter stuff from the actual query inside the input. So here we are going to, again, import these values or these states from the use app store. And we're going to use this use effect hook. So when the dialog is opened, and we're going to make sure that the search dot length is more than 0 and the open table dialog is true, then we are going to use these functions from the table provided by TaskTag to be able to filter the values that are coming from the search state from zustand, and all of this is going to be dependent upon the open table dialog and the search. So don't worry about this function. So I'm gonna get into them when I start explaining how to be able to download the SVC CSV file. You know what? I'm going to explain this very quickly, as you can see. So this is the function that we're going to be using. So whenever we are clicking on this button to be able to download the whole table inside the CSV file. So when I click on download as CSV, so when I click on open the file, so as you can see, we're gonna access to the all coins, as you can see, with this format. As you can see, everything is working fine. So when I close the dialog and I open it up, as you can see, the input is empty.